Hi everybody, it's Michelle with Comfy Cozy Living. So I am finally going to do my Q&A. I put the questions, or I put the feeler out for it a couple weeks ago, I think. And, well, it seemed like everybody had a lot of questions. So I had to give it time to think over some answers. And so here I am today with what are the best answers I could come up with right now. And I feel like some things might be redundant, but we'll see. Because I didn't answer everything at the same time, and now I'm looking at it, I'm like, maybe I already said that. So anyway, let's get started. First question is from Katie at Vintage and Vinyl. What is your favorite vintage find? Well, one of my very favorite vintage finds is my stack of suitcases. So that was a collection over, I don't know how much time, in several different places that I lived actually before I bought my house about 4 years ago. And some are not as great as others. Some are very boring. Some have left, and some are gonna be with me forever. Another one of my favorite finds is a turquoise cubby that I think some people have probably seen in videos. That has a little, it's right here next to me, and it has room for all different little display items of my favorite collections, I guess. So those are two of my favorite vintage finds. Kim from Oh My Vintage asked, do you work from home as a reseller full time? So the question is, yes, I do now. I don't know if I would call it full time as much as it is, yes, it's what I'm trying to do. What were your previous jobs, and was it in reselling or something different? Well, I was human resources, and my last office job was as a human resources manager. I kind of oopsed my way into HR by way of just working for another company for like 4 or 5 years, and then we got bought by them. There were a lot of comings and goings, or purchasing companies, whatnot. So then I ended up at this other company, and I kind of was a person that was very valuable because I was always able to help. And so I was, basically, they never wanted to lose me, so they had me do whatever it took to keep me, and I ended up in HR. And then eventually my boss left, and I asked to give it a shot, even though I didn't have a degree. And so I did it for basically a year, a little more than a year actually, before I was let go with a bunch of other people. And it was the first of many, the first mass exodus, I guess you could say, before a couple others, and the company eventually, within a couple months, went bankrupt. So I've been out of work since September of 2018, the end of September 2018. And in the beginning of 2019, I started having health issues. A lot of stuff. I have a lot of pain in my hands. I have, mostly it's in my hands. It's in my arms too. I experienced a lot of memory issues, which is hard for someone that's like in, I'm in my mid 50s now, I guess you could say. I was early mid 50s, and I was like, how am I mean, my kids get so frustrated at me for not remembering things, and my memory has gone really bad. I was going to the doctor a lot, and probably, well, I think it was like in November, I finally was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And that affects people differently. Some people are totally okay with it. Some people can not get out of bed with it. I also have chronic fatigue. I have a lot of arthritis. I've had a knee replacement and I need another one. So not that I really want to lay it all out there, but in a lot of different conversations that take place during live sales, I hear a lot of people's health stuff, and it's very hard for me to bite my tongue, because I'm only telling you like some of the stuff. You don't need to know or don't want to know all of it. You probably don't even want to know all that. But it led me to where I'm at right now, and that is trying to get disability, because unemployment stopped well over a year ago. And I like, see, now I'm like, my hands always hurt to some degree. I will never be able to do like the computer stuff that I used to do. I can only write in spurts for a while, like, right. Oh, and it was horrible when my son had his graduation last year and I was trying to write things. It looked like somebody who was learning how to print. So, yeah, I look a lot better because I'm on better medications now. And, anyway, long way around to that is I also used to sell at vintage shows, and at flea markets. So I have always had a knack for display, and I have been told to have a good eye, So when I finally, I was watching a lot of this stuff on YouTube, and I was wanting to get in and wanting. And then when all that happened with my job, I was like, well, now I'm not going to do it, because I felt, like I couldn't go thrifting all the time. I couldn't do all the hauls, So I just was in between. And now the struggle has gotten harder. So when I started finally posting at the end of the year, like right after Christmas, I kind of was like, well, at least I kind of feel like I'm doing something. And then when it turned into like people saying I should do this, like resell online, I thought, it's not like I'm not good at it or new to it. So yeah, that's how I got into this now, because it is something that I kind of did before, so it made sense to make it what I am kind of trying to do now. Kim from All My Vintage also asked, what kinds of stationery or ephemera items do you like to collect for your junk journal? Do you write in your junk journal every day or just decorate it? So the kind of stationery or ephemera I like is vintage papers, old book pages, vintage ledger paper, like that's been used is the best kind. Like if you find a ledger that like, somebody used in the 50s, 60s, 70s, like that has all the writing, that's the best kind. Anything Tim Holtz I love. And like gift cards and gift card bags, like how I have one over there. I had it in here, took it out. Like a small bag that just has like a gift card in it. A lot of times that has the store name on the front, like a Hallmark store, or like I have one over there that says World Market. Because you can fold those in half and use those in a journal, and they're awesome. Envelopes. So I mostly decorate my junk journals. It's whatever you want it to be. I know a lot of people say, well, you have to leave room to write in it. I feel like it's whatever you want it to be. It's a junk journal. It's made of junk, or however you want to junk it up. I have done one for my friend that you guys have seen, where I wrote stuff in it that was inspirational as I went along. Also left a few open spaces. If that person wanted to write stuff in it, they could. I haven't ever done one that's more open for someone to write in. Not sure that I ever will. But I do like to write like creative things, inspirational things while I'm creating it. So I guess the bottom line is I do it more like as a creative process and something pretty to look at later than I do as creating a journal for someone to write in. Kim also asked, what vintage items do you love to collect or thrift for yourself? So one of the things is flower frogs. I know a lot of people have that collection. I don't have any of the clear ones. I've never had one of those. I really have just those heavy prickly ones mostly. And honestly, this year I haven't found any because usually you find those at like a flea market, and I haven't gotten to go to a flea market yet. Haven't been to many rummage sales, and I certainly haven't found any there. I also collect suitcases, but I don't really buy them anymore. I love them, but unless I found a really cool one, like with patches and stuff on it, like from a trip, then I would, trade them out for what I already have, kind of thing. I got one recently from a friend who was getting rid of things, and haven't put it in the mix because it doesn't really necessarily add to what I've already got. So I'm just going to probably put it in my basement for now. Also 1950s vintage Christmas. I love Holt Howard stuff. I know a lot of people do. I love that. I love vintage pink Christmas. Mercury beads and picks. I have not had any luck with those picks, really. I think I have a couple like dingy silver ones that I found last year. I do have pink mercury beads that I bought at a sale, but I've never really found like any awesome ones in the wild or anything like that. I also collect vintage like kitschy kitchen decor, like in red or yellow. I do mostly either cherries, tulips, or polka dots. I love Pyrex and Fire King. So yeah, like in the kitchen, I collect like a certain look, of that kitschiness. I used to be heavy into the Ray Dunn, and I've gotten rid of a lot of that. I don't necessarily buy anything of it now as much as I'm getting rid of a lot, and I still have so much. I do love certain elephants. A lot of you know. One that I have right here, I love. It's very crackly and crazed. Yeah. I don't even know what his mark is. He's Japan. Yeah. Anyhow, I love him. He's a little planter, I guess, but I just, it came from a friend's sale that is no longer with us, and so to me it's like a memento. But I have a few different elephant things that I like. I like a vintage boho vibe. So, and also I collect these nature books. They're the Golden Nature Guide series. I don't know why, like I'm not into bugs or anything, but when I was a kid, I had the yellow insect book. And when I got into vintage, or when vintage really started kicking itself up in my face again in life, I saw one somewhere on a sale, and I wanted to buy it just because it was nostalgic to me. It was already sold. Well, then I found one in hardback form, which I didn't even know it existed in hardback form, but I bought it. And then I found a Rocks and Minerals one. And it's just this, I'm going to try to edit this with like pictures of, the things. But there's like this, like font or graphic of the name of the book, and that like it just kind of has this look. So I also have one, I think that's trees, and I have another one, I don't remember. And then like Karina at Tarnished Treasures was doing something with one, and I was like, oh, that book, So now it's just a thing where I'm like collecting this whole series. So, yeah, that. She also asked, when is your birthday? And my birthday is May 23rd, 1966. So a lot of people know that many of you were very kind to me on my birthday. Fat Bird Finds really celebrated it up because my birthday was like on a Saturday, and they whooped it up on that Friday before. Misty and Alex of Thrifter, Junker, Vintage Hunter, and Chapter 2 Vintage Co. were beyond kind in gifting me. And just all of you made that day awesome for me. I don't know why. I mean, my birthday has never been... I love my birthday. I'm not going to lie. Just like anybody else, I love my birthday. But this year, it was just really super awesome. So, then my next question is from my friend Maria Coelho. And she asked, what do you most enjoy about thrifting? So my answer to that is simply the thrill of the hunt. Finding that item that you have on your wish list, that's the best part. Just the search, the hunt, the years and years and years and years ago, when I collected Avon decanters, and I mean, I had a ton of them. I still have so many of certain ones, and I'll try to insert a picture of that too. They are the Small World girls. They're the colognes, and they were bubble bath and cologne, and for teenagers or girls or kids, whatever. And so my one friend, she also collected Avon decanters, and we would go to rummage sales and flea markets and stuff back in the day. And I remember we went to one in this neighborhood that was like where my grandparents lived back in the day, and it was in the basement, and I was like, are we going? Like, I would not go here alone. I mean, it's not in a bad neighborhood, but it was like, one of these dank old basements, I mean, I still can remember it like it was yesterday. And these girls that I wanted, they were not the easy ones to find. I know nowadays people find Avon decanters all the time, but there were always certain ones that were like primo finds and stuff. Well, anyhow, we walk down and we see this table of decanters, and there was one of my girls. And my friend, like, how do I do this? Like, let me, like, say this is like the table of things, and there's just stuff, and this is the girl. And my friend, like, went like this and grabbed it and just handed it to me. It was awesome. So it's just like, a lot of people say, like, what do you do when you're friends and you collect the same things and stuff? Or, and I do one of my bestie and I have very, a lot of similar tastes. But there's like a certain level of love on certain things. And you just know. There's just an understanding, There just is. It's nice to have your own thing. But when you have like a lot of common, like likes and stuff, you're going to find things that maybe both of you do want. So you kind of come to an understanding or whatever. So it's just like you're almost happier to find it for your friend sometimes. So Maria also asked when was my birthday, May 23rd. And then my girl Michelle at Mermaid Cove asked, what do you enjoy besides thrifting? Other hobbies and interests? Well, junk journaling. You guys have, a lot of you know that. I haven't honestly been able to do much of it lately. I don't know. Things have just been crazy busy, and this house is a disaster zone. I hope my kids stay gone for a while today so that I can get things done. I like doing mixed media art, like on canvas with paints and like stencils and different layers, and then adding other things to it. And actually a project that I just was working on didn't get finished because there was, my friend was in the hospital, but oh, my son's home. But anyway, yeah, that's something I'll show. Decorating, I love to decorate. I love to redecorate, and I love to take it all down and do it again. I just love to decorate. And I'm also really into plants now. And I want to be into gardening, but it's just not probably my thing because it requires a lot of attention, Bella. It requires a lot of attention. And so I don't always get to do that at its very best. So, next question is from Tina B. How did you get into vintage and selling of vintage? And I wrote this some answers down too. I always did love thrifting. I always did. When I was a kid, like my mom and I, we would have rummage sales every summer. People were like, oh, I was waiting for your signs to go up, and we always went rummage sailing. This is when it was like you put the ads in the newspaper, and we would, highlight them, and I'd put like 1, 2, 3. I've always been good with directions, so I would always tell my mom like where we're going and everything. So, and way back, even between my freshman and sophomore years in college, I worked at a thrift store for the summer. But I've always loved going to thrift stores, Goodwills. The one I worked for was, I think, a disabled veterans thrift. There used to be American Council for the Blind back. We don't have as many good ones nowadays. I don't know. It's just a different kind of thing, which is funny because there's more stuff now. But I guess there's a lot more Goodwills. We have a ton of Goodwills in my area. And then, I've always loved thrifting. And then like when vintage started really kind of coming up again, is really making a come up. And so like around 2010 is when I started to, sell at a flea market. And, that became a regular thing. They did how many in a year, like 4 or 5 in the, between May and, October. And so I did that. And I had to do all these things alone, and I also had kids, and I had a full-time job. So it wasn't ever the easiest thing to do, but I really enjoyed it. And I wasn't one to just like throw stuff out on a table. Like I did it all up. I like made it all look good. So, and then after that, I got, like discovered, I guess, this woman that owned this farm where they did like occasional sales throughout the year, saw me at a different, little flea market and invited me to sell there. And so, and then I never left there for like several years. I was there. I did really, have a good run there. And actually did sell there last November. She had an open spot and asked me if I could help out and do that. So put the pedal to the metal, and I came up with a booth worth of stuff, and I loved it. It was fun. She used to have TV spots there, and so I've done quite a few of those to help out, and I really enjoyed it. So what's my favorite era? This is still Tina B. What my favorite era to collect and sell? Well, I guess mostly in the kitchen and in Christmas, it would be the 50s. And then for the rest, I would say 60s and 70s mostly. Some 80s, like because of that's when I was like, I was in high school in the early 80s and stuff. So it does, certain things are just very nostalgic to me. But I would say mostly like the 70s because I really love a lot of the stuff that reminds me of my life. What was your best? This is also still Tina B. What was your best find? I pulled it off my wall. Brought it. This is one of my very best finds, and I think I might have shown it in a video. What does it say on there? Terra. I don't know. So it's this gigantic rosary. Some people say it's like a nun belt. I don't know about all that, but it's really big, and I love it. Yeah. And then my turquoise cubby, that was another one of my great finds. My suitcases, a couple of them are really, really good. I just feel like it would be hard to say some other, like, of my great finds, because I have a lot of great stuff, in my opinion. I mean, this door that I have on this side of me, the door behind me I got for $3 at a rummage sale. The door here, let's see if I can kind of show that. I got that for $18 years ago. But look at it's awesome, It's got great little hardware, and I kind of put stuff out and bring stuff in. I kind of keep the cycle going. So I like a lot of different things. Still Tina B, did you ever sell anything you regretted selling, and if so, why? I probably can't exactly remember some of the things. I'm sure there are more. But one of the biggest things is my ceiling tins. And here's one that I still have. But and I do still have a couple others. I have some more in my basement. I loved, like, that's all I ever collected for a long time, was just I loved ceiling tins. I have a lot, or I did have a lot in different places that I lived. Then I had to sell a lot because I was living in a house, renting a house. I was there for a long time, like 5 or 6 years. And I was given 30 days to move out of it. This was, quite some time ago now. But luckily, I had that opportunity to sell a lot of the stuff in my sales, because I was doing those sales at the time. So it was hard, because especially when, people are like, oh, I love this, and they're like happy to buy it, right? But, and they're telling you what you have great things, but it's like now you're selling your life. Like, I didn't really want to, I had to, I needed the money, and I needed to get rid of some things. So yeah, that was one of my biggest regrets, is having, and it was situational, so. Okay, and then the last question from Tina B is, what was your best find ever, or best achievement? Well, my best achievement is my kids. I guess that's not really like a business question or a vintage question, but like, especially because I've been able to maintain, being a mom and doing a lot of this stuff anyhow, being a mom on my own. Not mother of the year by any stretch of the imagination. I'm very relaxed in my mothering. Sometimes I think my kids don't know how lucky they are because I am so relaxed. But then there are times that I think that I wish I would have been harder on them. So what are you going to do? And now they're 18 and 19, and that's life, right? So another one of my best finds, probably 8 minutes away from where I live right now. I went to a pick, I guess you could say, and I found two of the best things ever in this guy's garage. I think I was going to get something for like that he had advertised, and I can't remember even what that was. But then I was like, oh, wait, you got all, what about this? And what about this? Like, we were getting to whatever. And then I'm like, what about that? And so he had this garage that was probably for, it was on like, not necessarily a farm, but I mean, it wasn't even a garage. It was like bigger than a house, how many garages it was. I don't know. But, so this gear was like this big. And it was amazing. I mean, I bought it for $40, I think. But I sold it for like, I don't know, well over 100. I know I did. And that was like one of my biggest sales too, ever, to like actually put a price like that on something. To spend that kind of money and hope that you're going to sell something is kind of scary sometimes. But this piece was everything. I loved it so much. So, yeah, that was one of my best. And then at the same place, I got this table. It is the wonkiest thing. I still have it because I actually used it for at my sales because I was getting compliments all the time. It's just this rickety old wooden table. Actually had it in here for a while too. And then it's got like, the top is just like a piece of galvanized tin or whatever. And I have it outside, like I have some succulents on it. It's right next to my grill, and I just sometimes I have more on it than other times, but I just love it. And I got it so cheap, and a lot of people wanted to buy it, and then I was like, well, it's just the perfect thing. It was fit my booth. It was my like table, and I don't know, it just, so that was definitely one of my big best buys, I guess. So little something vintage. Bev wants to know, who were your inspirations to become a YouTuber and a reseller? Okay, well, now this goes back years, okay? And these people probably aren't even going to know this because they didn't even know who I was until, this year sometime. Erin from the Collection Vintage, which was Gentle Thrifty Mama, she's one of my OGs. I just love her. She's so friendly and sweet, and she finds cool stuff. I like it when somebody's got their own like kind of individual vibe. So yeah, she's one of them that I go way back to. Jillian from At Home with Jillian. I think it used to be like the Pare family blog. I don't know what she called it. I love her decorating sense. She's, not on as much anymore, and she's changed a little bit up. She's maybe a little more I don't know how to say farmhouse, but I think I'm just more eclectic, I guess, but I still love her. She's got great decorating sense. Karina, who was Miss Stone Home and is now Tarnished Treasures. I've been watching her for a long time. I've always just loved her voice. She finds the best vintage for the least amount of money. Like, she finds things for 10 cents. She gets a pile of stuff for 75 cents. I mean, she gets the coolest vintage things. I love her sense of organization. I love how she sees things and she knows like where to put it for now and where to put it for later and where she might need to have it again. There's just something about her that is just a connect. And then also Nicole from Nesting Haven. I've been watching her for several years. And I don't know, there was just something about her that was just very relatable and sweet. And so I watched her for like before she had her second child, and and then she started really doing a lot with the Pyrex, and I think that's super cool. And I like it even when her and her husband go like picking up like all the trash and stuff. I don't know, I just like all that stuff. Now, they are the ones that I guess kind of maybe inspired me to become a YouTuber. Also, I would say Joan from Thrift Queen was huge in getting me to become a YouTuber. Really huge. And to become a reseller, that would be Alex at Chapter 2 Vintage Co. and Misty from Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter. They were my two biggest cheerleaders, I suppose you could say, and really encouraged me to get in the game. Judy G would love to know how you got started, so I think I kind of covered all that. Cindy Warman said, "You've lived in so many different places. What made you settle in Wisconsin?" Yes, I have. I am born and raised with Milwaukee girl. When I was, I think, 25, I moved to Los Angeles. I always wanted to live there. I moved there with some friends from Ohio, and then like within a month of living there, their nephew / cousin knew somebody lived out there, introduced us. That ended up being my now ex-husband. So I lived out there for several years. Then there was a big Northridge earthquake. We basically lived in the epicenter. That was kind of a lot. It kind of gives you a certain sense of PTSD. And so we were living together for like a year after that. And then, I don't know, like I was like, are we gonna, what is going on? And I don't know. We broke up and made up and broke up and made up, and then we broke up, and I went back to Milwaukee, and he moved to Nashville, where a bunch of our friends in a band had moved to. So came back to Milwaukee. I wasn't back very long, and then we got back together again, and then I ended up in Nashville, and then I ended up back in Milwaukee, and then we got married, and then I ended up back in Nashville, or outside of Nashville. And so after we got married, I lived down there, and then after we got divorced, I moved back home. So now I live outside of Milwaukee with my kids, and been here since 2003 again. Got divorced when my kids were 1 and 2. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I live here, because it's home. I hate weather. I hate Wisconsin winter. I really don't know why I'm here sometimes, but it's home. Elderly Poodle wants to know, what have you seen in the vintage world, found or saw, that made you feel the most nostalgic? So the answer to that is either the Snowflake Garland Corelle, which oddly enough is right here. This just takes me right back, and I just wish I would find 2 dinner plates in good condition of this. I mean, I have a couple things because Alex bought them from D and sent them to me. So yeah, and that was our Corelle. And then the other thing is the Spring Blossom Pyrex, which is also Crazy Daisy in the Pyrex, in the Corelle form, but in the Pyrex it's Spring Blossom, and that's that was our pattern for our Pyrex. So I have a Pyrex plate of it, a Corelle plate of it, And then I bought from Vinny, Vintage Vinny, I bought the butter dish. So, like, I'm just kind of getting some of the things from my past. And, like it. And then also the, well, maybe one of the most nostalgic things or two would be either Mrs. Beasley or the Chrissy doll that had the ponytail like this that pulled out of her hair, and then you hit the button and then it retracted back into her head, but then you could pull it out, and then she had long, beautiful hair. And yeah. And then the other thing would be Avon decanters, because like my best friend's mom was an Avon lady, and when we were kids, and they had these built-in, they had all the men, like all the cars that were the old car decanters. And then, you know, she and I had the little Small World girls, like I said, and a bunch of other things like that were Avon decanters that will always just remind me of, you know, when I was a kid. June Holbrick asked, oh wait, sorry, I skipped over one. Little Vintage Me said, do you have a booth or ever had one? What was your experience with that? What items at a thrift store can you not pass up? I never had a booth at like an antique mall. I have considered it. But I had a booth at that other show. I basically had the same spot. She let me keep my things there. We had a very good friendship, and she allowed me to keep my things there, like between sales and stuff. And I just worked very hard to make my spot be one of her, you know, better spots, I guess. And then also at the flea market that I sold at. So I was always in the same spot when I was there, but that was outside. And I had a good experience with it. I had a great experience with it. I loved it. I love the people I've met. I have so many people that I've met through that are going to be in my life forever, you know. So I love that. What items at a thrift store can you not pass up? I don't even know how to answer that. Like, if it's got the right price, if it's got the right price and it's something I like, now that I'm a reseller, it's harder to answer that. But I don't know if I could have answered that before either, because I like so many different things, and my taste does change, and then it kind of goes like in these weird cycles, so I'm not sure how to pick an answer for that. So the next question is June Holbrook, and she said, tell us, and this is the last question. Tell us what your first collection was, and if you still collect or are collecting it. So when I was a kid, you know, like I was born in 66, so like in the 70s is what I would say, like when I was a kid, really. I collected postcards like crazy. I still have a ton of my postcards from when I was a kid. I have like when my 4th grade teacher went to Hawaii at Christmas time, like I have a postcard from her, and I just have a ton of postcards. I was huge into owls when I was a kid. Everybody would comment, and it's so funny because everybody now loves like for how many years now owls have been a hot thing, and everybody's like, remember when you used to collect them when you were little? And I mean, I had the home interior stuff, you know, way back when it was like OG, and like the red owl, and I just loved owls. And that was in the 70s, so it was when it was like the thing, you know. I also collected the little blown glass figurines, you know, the tiny little like deer and giraffe and you know, like all the different, I mean, they were tiny, you know. And then also little glass bottles with the tiny little cork tops. They were like, you know, I mean, they were little, the tiny ones. Pink and, you know, fuchsia and green and purple and yellow and orange and blue. So, yeah, that was what I collected when I was a little kid. And I don't collect that now. Actually don't collect any of that now. I still have the postcards, but I don't collect any of those things now. So, yeah, so How long did this go? Yeah, I knew it would go a while. Well, there it is. I will keep my fingers crossed that this is interesting to everybody. And please make sure that you give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And leave comments below if anything resonates with you that I actually said. And I hope you subscribe to my channel. And if you feel like sharing it with anyone you think might enjoy it, please do so. And thanks everybody that asked the questions. And I hope that you all enjoyed the answers. Thanks everybody. Bye.